Hi, I'm Desi, and welcome to my podcast. Today's topic is what would you do if you were not afraid? What would you do if you were not afraid? That's a great question, and I'm sure you need time to think about it. What would you do if you were not afraid? I want to share a post with you that I posted on social media today, and just in case if we're not connected, please connect with me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Desi Speaks. And so please, if you follow me, still go and like my pages or just be sure you're connected with me so you can stay abreast of updates and you can tune into my podcast. In addition to that, I can be found on YouTube by Desi Hall. So go and subscribe to my page on YouTube as well. So, anyways, I would like to read this to you. Don't ever be embarrassed of your journey. Each of us travel different paths to get to where we want to be. Some have much support, a few have little. Many have roadblocks, and some work their way around it or through it. Be grateful for the journey, experience, life lessons, and the people you connected with. Don't compare your journey to anyone else. It's your journey for a reason. Doesn't matter how you started, all that matters is that you finish. Avoid people who try to convince you otherwise and those that are wasting time by partying, splurging, and doing nothing productive. Stay away from those people if they're not willing to try. They will aid in detouring you from your goals. Get and stay focused. If you can't find a support system, be your own. This is your one chance to make it count. So seize the moment. Don't procrastinate or make excuses. Use what you have, get up, and start moving. I want to see you excel. So I posted that today because one that was on my heart to share with you today. And so as you can see from my birthday gift that my cousin bought me, it's the name of this is What's Your Word. So if you would like to purchase these cards, it's called go to the website myintent.org and you can purchase these cards here. And as you can see, I have several cards with questions on them. So I will be sharing this with you along the journey. So getting back to today's topic is what would you do if you were not afraid? I want you to think about that for a moment because there's so many of us, because we're so fearful of something, we won't get started. We won't do anything about it. And so we miss out on so many opportunities because we are afraid. So I want to share with you a little bit about my journey, about my story, because I was telling you, never be ashamed. Never be ashamed of your journey, how long it took for you to arrive to a certain place in your life. Never be ashamed of that journey. It's your journey for a reason. There's no need to compare your journey to anyone else. Why? Because it's your journey. So let's get back to what I was saying earlier. Sometimes we allow fear to paralyze us. And I want to share with you my story because, again, I am a storyteller in a sense because I'm being transparent with you about my journey. And I'm hoping that my journey will be a blessing to you and cause you not to be fearful any longer and cause you to want to pursue your goals. So many of you that may know me, you know that I graduated from Washington County High School. And so I didn't really think about the future and what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't see myself going to college. I didn't at all. So when I graduated, one of my best friends was going off to college. And I decided I didn't want to stay behind. I didn't want to be that person at some point in my life, 4 years from then, that my classmates, they graduated from college and they do well for themselves. And I didn't want to be home just working a minimum wage job. And again, there's nothing against anyone who works a minimum wage job. If that's what you like and it works for you, great. I didn't want that for my life. And so I know I had an awakening that took place at that point in my life, and I realized, Desi, you need to do something with your life. So I decided to go to college. My first year of college, I did not take serious. I wished I had taken my first year of college serious, but I didn't. I played. So by me playing, I had to go home. And I had to make some arrangements to get back in college. And so when I got back in college, I played some more and I got pregnant. And when I got pregnant and when it was time to go home, and get ready to have my daughter, I went home because I couldn't work anymore because I experienced just a couple of complications, nothing major, but I got to the point I couldn't walk anymore. My ankles were swollen. So I had to withdraw from school. So I went back home, later had my daughter. And that's where everything started for me from that point. I realized in my early 20s, I had my daughter the day before I turned 21, is that once she came in this world, I had to woman up. So at that point, I didn't think I would go back to college. So I worked 2 minimum wage jobs to make full-time pay in a sense, and it still wasn't enough. So I started exploring my options, and everything kept leading me to going back to college. I was fearful because I had 2 opportunities and I didn't make good on it. So I didn't see myself going back to college. I was afraid. I didn't trust myself anymore. And so I finally got me a part-time job with a state agency. And from then on, eventually I became full-time. I wanted more, but I couldn't go any further because I needed a college degree to help aid me in getting a better job. So I started going back to school at night. And when I would go to school at night, well, let's back up. I would go to school during the day, and some classes I would take at night, and I would work all night. Some nights I would work 10 to 6. Well, initially I started out working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. That schedule didn't work for me. And then eventually I started working 10 to 6. And I would have to travel about 35 minutes to get to work one way. And during the day and some evenings I would go to school. Some days getting off of work, I found myself going to sleep. There's one time I almost had an accident. I don't believe I ever told my mother that, but I did. I almost had an accident going home. When I would get off in the mornings, whether it would be at 7 a.m. or sometimes 6 a.m., and then I was given an opportunity to work a schedule, whereas I would go in at 10 p.m. and get off at 10 in the morning. But again, that was short-lived. But anytime when I would get off at 6 or 7 in the morning, I would go straight home, get my daughter up, get her ready for school, take her to school, go home, get a nap, not get any rest like I needed to. I would get a nap, get up, cook for her, pick her up from school, make sure she eats, and then drop her off at my mom, and then mom and dad, and then I would go to school. And then from leaving from school, I would go to work. I was determined to finish my degree. And so after a little over a year, because I had credits before from other schools, I was able to obtain my associate's degree. I was afraid, but I had to do it, I had to conquer that fear. So I'm talking to you today, and I'm teaching you one lesson to conquer your fear. I didn't think I could do it, but I made myself do it. And I realized as a parent, I said, here it is. My daughter is young. I can go to school while she's young because she won't miss me as much right now, and I have support. So I did it. Got a better job and everything. But I still wanted more for us. And everywhere that I would work, I was always told that I was a great worker because I have a good work ethic. I really do. And I could only go so far. And someone kept telling me, you could go further if you get your bachelor's degree. I got afraid again. I got afraid that I didn't think I was capable of doing that. Because here I am, a mother. I'm working full time. How would I have time to go back to school when I work 40 plus hours during the week? I wanted to sit in the classroom and be able to get that face-to-face instruction. But time just did not permit. My schedule didn't work. It didn't coincide with my schedule. So I had to come up with a plan. And I was still fearful that I couldn't do it. I tried a couple business ventures, and some worked for a little while. They didn't last long. And then eventually, I found something that I was very passionate about, and photography was my passion. So I pursued that, and I opened up a business. In fact, I opened up a studio in the prime location in the heart of town. And so while I was running my business, working full time, I went back to school. I enrolled in an online college, in an online university. And I was determined that I was going to finish what I started. How did I know I would finish what I started? One of my colleagues, she was a sweetheart to me. And she was what was her job? A custodian worker. She was a janitor. And we would have all types of conversation. And I never forget, one day she wanted me to take her home. And we were talking, and I started asking her some thought-provoking questions. And I asked her, and her name is Ann. And if you know Ann, give Ann my love. I said, Ann, what is some of the best advice anyone has ever given you? And she said this to me. She said, my mother always told me to finish what you started. She planted a seed in my life, and she don't even know it to this day. When I enrolled back in college, I remember those words that Ann said to me. So it was so very important for me to finish what I started. And so when I was juggling working for my employer and managing my business, when I would get home from a long day's work, I would sit at my kitchen table. I had an office upstairs, but I would get to my table because I had more space to work, put my books on the table, whatever I needed to put on the table. I had that space to maneuver. And I would sit there and work on my class assignments. I had to be strategic. So sometimes I would sit there and work on 2 weeks worth of assignments. So whatever papers that I had due or whatever class discussions, all of my discussions, sometimes I would knock out 3 weeks of discussion out within 1 to 2 nights. So when it was time to post your response to a question and provide feedback or whatever, I mean, not feedback, but your discussion, I had that ready. Okay. Then my assignments that were due, I already knew because I had my syllabus and it told us what we needed to do. I would knock my papers out. So I prioritized my time. I did it out of fear because I had to prove myself wrong. So many times we try to prove others wrong. The main one you're trying to prove wrong is yourself because you're fearful that you can't do it. And that's what my problem was. So I had to prove to myself that I could do it. And I worked and I worked and I worked. Working full time for an employer. Managing my business. And at night I would sit at that kitchen table and work. And complete my assignments. Sometimes I would stay in my studio and work till about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And at the time with my studio, where I had my studio, people would see me in there working at night because I lived in a small town and everybody knew each other and I knew them and they knew me. And so they would ride by, they would blow. And sometimes they would like, girl, what are you doing that time of morning at that studio? I know you ain't working on no pictures. And so sometimes I could have been working on some clients' work because I wanted to make good on time. When I told them I have their photos ready, I want to be able to produce their memories in a timely manner or either before the time I told them they would be ready because I knew I was still in school. And so eventually, I completed my bachelor's degree in communications. I did. I proved myself wrong. So my question to you is, what would you do if you were not afraid? Is it that you want to attend college? Is it that you want to open up a business? What is it that you want to do if you were not afraid? Surely you're not worried about how people may perceive you, or you're afraid that someone may not agree with your decision. It's not their decision, it's your decision. And probably deep down inside, the person that you need to prove wrong is you, not them. That was the most rewarding experience in my life to obtain my bachelor's degree. It took a long time. I didn't get it when most of my classmates who went to college graduated within 4 years. I didn't get it then. It was much later. But I completed my goal. And I didn't compare my journey with my classmates because that was their journey. I chose a different journey because of my actions. That was my decision. But I woman up. And I raised a beautiful daughter. And I'm not ashamed of my journey. It helped me to be even more determined. So I'm telling you, don't be afraid. Whatever it is that you're afraid to do it out of fear. That if you fearful that you won't do a great job, just finish the goal. Finish what you started. You got to start somewhere. And honey, baby steps count too. We so focused on the big picture and we feel like we got to have all of this together before we can make a step, or before we can apply to a college, before we can open this business or do whatever it is that you want to do. Sometimes you're not going to have all the pieces together, honey. You're not going to have everything together. You may not have all of the resources. You may not have the money you need. You know, you're trying to add this up and add this up and compare like what it took for somebody else, if you keep doing that, you'll never achieve your goal. It's a cliche that goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. One step. During this pandemic, you need to make it count. Several of you have downtime that you can utilize to your advantage. This is a great time to sharpen your skills. This is a great time to enroll in college. This is a great time. And I encourage you to utilize this time to the best of your advantage. This is a great time. Set fear aside. Give it a try. You'll never know how to work until you try it. You'll never know. You got to give it a try. Look at my story. I told you before, I've heard certain things like, hey, you can go further if you go back to school. Am I done with school? No, I'm not done with school. I achieved the goal for myself that I set out to achieve. I finished what I started. Yes, my master's degree is coming. I just won't say when, but I'm going to find me an accountability partner to help see me through on that one, because I am juggling so many different things right now. And I am happy with where I am. I'm not Dr. Desi Hall. I am Miss Desi Hall. And I am good with that, because I finished what I started. So if you just want to go back to school and you want to do something for yourself to enhance your skills, if you just want something that, will help aid you in being promoted to another position or qualify you for different opportunities, then go back to school. Find a school that meets your needs and your budget. Or if you just want to do it just to say you did it, then do it. Do it. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. I hope this message encouraged you today, and I hope that you will take action. And even though I shared with you about my story about going to college, I'm sure that may be something else that you want to do that I didn't mention. But don't let fear stop you. Give it a try. You can do it. You have to tell yourself that you can do it. You can do it. The world is counting on you because you have a special gift. And sometimes we just need a credential to help aid us and get into that place where we're trying to be. Some don't have to go back to school for 2 to 4 years to get a degree. Sometimes it may take you 6 to 8 weeks to get a certification in something. So a degree doesn't make me better than you. A certification doesn't make you better than me. It doesn't. It's just saying you have achieved this goal in this area, and it qualifies you for other opportunities. So choose wisely, and don't let fear stop you. I wish you all the best, and please tune in to a future podcast by Desi and Company. I thank you for your time. I wish you all the best. And please comment on how this podcast has helped you. Thank you.